Um, you're welcome to this quick revision. I just noticed with a lot of popular requests that I should do a video on management in context paper 2 environmental management because the exam is tomorrow for the October-November candidates. So I decided to have a quick run through of the May-June 2022 paper 2-1. So quickly, without wasting so much time, let's see how this paper is. Now, first thing is environmental. When you're doing questions with management in context, and the first skill you need to know is it has to do with the environment, and your ideas goes a long way. Your perspective about how you view the environment and what you feel should be done in order to improve it is really really important when you try to answer these questions. And however, there are other certain aspects of the question that have to do strictly with content that is quite related to paper one. So quickly, let's just go through it. First, you have this is a world map showing the location of Spain and the Canary Island. So this is Spain, and this is the Canary Island. It's any management in context paper. You should know by now that this type of map will be given to you. You don't need to be scared about it. Then after this, they will now give you a map that a magnified map of Spain alone, but in this case, they did not. So they gave us a key. From this keys are used to interpret a map. So if you look at this mini map, so we have a map of the Canary Islands, which are small pieces of islands, and you have the major city, you have Volcanic Island, and you have an airport. What this simply means is this area is a major city, and you have a volcano here, and there is also an airport, and there's volcano, so there's virtually volcanic activity on each of the islands that are found within this region. So with that, let's see. In management context, you will now be given information about the Canary Island. Like here, we have area of the Canary Island. As the land area is 7,493 kilometers square. Then you have the population, which is 2.15 million. And sometimes they will now ask you to calculate the population density. In this case, if you want to calculate the population density, is equal to what? Total population over divide by the land area. Now, so you can use the data from here. If you look at the total population is 2.15 million. If you divide this by 7,493 kilometers square, it will now give you the the population density of this particular region. Now, we are told that the children per women is 1.33, so the life expectancy is quite high, 82.8 years, and the currency is €1 is equal to $1.22. Now, the language there is Spanish. Now, they will give you the climate, the terrain, and the economic activity of the Canary Islands. So from here, we are told that the climate is subtropical cool by cold ocean current and wind that blows from the northeast most of the time. Then they now said the terrain of the Canary Island is majorly volcanic mountains and narrow coastal plains. Then main economic activity are tourism, shipping services, fishing, agricultural production, including bananas and sugar. Now, the Canary Islands are part of Spain. They are located 100 kilometers west of North Africa. Now, there are a chain of islands formed by volcanic activity between 3 and 68 million years ago, which is really quite long. Now, so the first question here is, they said the Canary Islands are volcanic islands. Now, describe what causes volcanic eruption. So you see, these are the content from chapter 1. Now, volcanic eruption, it occurs at plate boundary. So plate boundary, what you can put there is magma, or you can say plates move apart or move towards each other. It can either be a constructive constructive, where it moves apart, or destructive, move towards each other, where it move towards each other. Then, or you can now, once that is done, you find out that um, then it can either be pressure, pressure build up. So if there is fracture on the earth crust, fractures on earth crust, what will happen? Magma rises. Once magma rises, it solidifies to form volcanoes. There is no way you get your 3 marks from this. Your 3 mark is sure. Now, granite is a rock formed by volcanic activity. State one other rock that is formed by volcanic activity. So these are example of igneous rocks. All igneous rocks are formed from volcanic activity. So if you have granite here, the next you can put here is basalt. That's it. Then suggest reason why each island in the Canary Island is smaller than when it was formed millions of years ago. Now, this is simple. Things like weathering and erosion must have occurred. So things like weathering and erosion must have occurred over millions of years ago. Then another major reason why it becomes smaller is because of possibly there is sea level rise, which can be due to melting glaciers, um, caused by climate change. Sorry, I'm just abbreviating this because I'm trying to be quite fast. So that will give you a mark. Now, weathering and erosion, and erosion here can be erosion by water. So that's it, because you get your full mark with that. Now, this next statement is, they said a student reads a newspaper article about a possible landslide at La Palma. The title is "Landslide at La Palma Could Cause a Tsunami." Now, recently, low magnitude earthquake have been recorded under the island of La Palma. Okay, so it's low magnitude. Now, this earthquake had magnitude between 1.5 and 2.7. Local people are worried that the earthquake could cause one side of the La Palmas volcano to collapse into the sea, and once it collapses into the sea, it will now lead to a tsunami. Now, similar sized earthquakes have been recorded beneath the island of El Hierro and Tenerife. However, no high magnitude earthquake have occurred in recent years on these islands. Okay, so state the meaning of tsunami. This is quite simple. So tsunami is usually a long wave of displaced water. That's it. So if you remember long wave, you get your mark. Now, state the name of the scale used to record the magnitude of an earthquake. You need a Richter scale. Then for the impact, you need a Mercalli scale. So if they ask you for impact, you need the Mercalli scale for impact of an earthquake. Now, some scientists think that there is only a low risk to large-scale landslide at Palma. Suggest why. I think the major reason will be it has, from that statement, we were told that it is a low magnitude earthquake. So first, it has a low magnitude earthquake. We are told is between between 1.5 to 2.7. Let me see if I'm correct. That's it. Now, that's how many mark? I think it's 2 mark. Will that give us a 2 mark? Um, yeah, so you find out that it was also recorded here that in El Hirio, similar earthquake happened, but I think there was no tsunami that occurred there. So you actually get your 1 mark for saying it's low magnitude and giving a range also. So that should be enough. Now, describe the possible impact of landslide and tsunami on La Palma. I usually state this. If you watch my video on hazard, I told you volcanoes, earthquake, tsunami, landslide all have similar impact. So you can just write it will destroy buildings. So if they ask you about earthquake impact, volcano, all of them are similar. It will destroy buildings. This, since it display of water, it can lead to flooding, and flooding will be the primary impact, and secondary impact there can be diseases can spread. It can lead to destruction of vegetation and habitat, destroying sorry, I'm trying to be fast, destroying vegetation and habitat. So it can lead to people can be trapped and therefore lead to loss of lives and properties. So it can actually destroy things like infrastructure within the environment. So, and once infrastructure is destroyed, it can lead to loss of jobs and the rest. So, any three will go on things that are quite negative. Now, suggest 3 strategies for managing the impact of an earthquake. You should, when managing the impact of an earthquake, you should look at things like monitoring, evacuation. You can have tsunami. You can look at hazard drills. You can have things like emergency services. You can also have things like emergency services, like when you have rescue teams. You can have things like there should be proper medical aid. You can Those are strategies. You can have hazard zones where people are not allowed to live and things like that. So number 2, the Canary Islands are 100 kilometers west of North Africa. Yes, we were told from when we started reading the insert from top. Now, they said much of North Africa is covered by the Sahara Desert. Yes, a wind from the east blows dust from the Sahara Desert to the Canary Island. The dust increases the fertility of the soil of the island. The dust. Now, state the name of the Canary Island that is first to receive dust from the Sahara Desert when the wind blows from the east. So let's go back. Shit. Be fast. Come on. So I think we can get the answer when we come back here. Said when the wind blows from the east of the Sahara Desert, you have the Canary Island. So if you look at this, the first island that can be, they said it is, I'm coming, let me see something here. Okay, they say a wind blows from the northeast most of the time. So if it blows from the northeast most of the time, you find out that if you come here back to your Canary Island, you draw your cardinal point, which is given. This is north, south, west, east. So if it blows from the northeast, that means it's coming from this direction. So the first island it will meet is this Lanzarote. So you just come down. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Okay, so it's called the land is it Lanzarote? Okay, good. Now they said the dust from the Sahara Desert add phosphorus to the soil of the Canary Island. State the name of one other important mineral found in fertile soil. Remember NPK in your agriculture and the environment. So N is nitrate or nitrogen, since they use phosphorus, you can, and potassium. Anyone, you get your full mark. Now they said only 30% of the total land area of the Canary Islands is suitable for farming. Calculate. Now, so 30%, it will be 30% of the total land area, which is 30 over 100 times the total land area. The total land area of the Canary is, I think is here. So look at your total land area. We are told is 7493. So you come back times 7493. Once you do that calculation, you get an answer such as 2248. You get 2248. That is all. Now, this question is next, and the first thing here is they said a student talks to 3 farmers from the Canary Island. First farmer: we have very low rainfall all year, but we can still grow crops. Okay, that can be maybe through irrigation, or you have drought resistant crop, or you have genetically modified GMCs, genetically modified crops that are drought resistant. Second farmer said, we cover our field with a layer of volcanic ash, and volcanic ash is what? Fertile. The layer of volcanic ash, the ash add mineral and stop wind drying out the soil. Okay. Now, third farmer say at night, water from the humid air condenses on the surface of the volcanic ash on the soil, and this add water to our crop. Okay, now the student investigates if adding volcanic ash to soil improve plant growth. Okay, now let's see. The student did this: collect seed from one species of wild plant growing on the Canary Island. Why use one species? To make it what? A fair test. Now, fills 3 trays A, B, C with soil. Place 20 seed in each tray. Now, does not, so this is what was changed in the experiment. Now, does not add volcanic ash to tray 1. Okay, add this 1 kg of volcanic ash to tray 2 and this to tray 3. Now, this will now act as a control. Now, he waits 15 days for the seed to grow into seedlings. Now, record the number of seedlings with a minimum of 2 leaves in each tray every 3 days, and the result is given below. Okay, every 3 days, tray A, number of seedling, no ash after 15 days, number of blah blah blah, number of days after 15 days, number of seedling with a minimum of 3 leaves. So we have this. So tray C have the highest number, but after 30 days, I think they are quite similar. So let's see. Now, state 2 factors that the student need to keep the same in the course of this experiment. Now, in the course of this experiment, you need to keep the same other factors that affect plant growth. So you can keep the same, possibly the soil pH. You can keep the same, the temperature. You can keep the same, possibly this light intensity, if you can. Light intensity. You should also be able to maintain the spacing or the size of the tray should be equal. Size of tray used should be equal. So the amount of water added, so the volume of water added should also be the same. Now, state why the student include trade A. I've stated it earlier. Now, trade A will act as a control to the experiment. Now, look at this. I'm not doing this. Sorry. Now, they said on the grid, plot a graph of numbers of seedlings with a minimum of 2 leaves. On minimum of 2 leaves, y-axis against number of days after planting for tray B and tray C. So they want us to do that for tray B and tray C. Now draw straight line between each plotted point for tray B and tray C. That means you should have label your graph. So they say y-axis should have a number of seedlings. So if you come here, this should be number of seedlings should be on your y-axis. So you should have so if you come here, this is your x-axis, then your y-axis should be the said number of seedlings should be there. So all you need to do is to label your axis for tray B and tray C. So once you label, then you come down tray B, tray C, you now plot your graph. How will this graph look like? I think I need to plot this. Okay, let me see. Let's just do it. I'm looking at time because time is fast spent. So let's plot the graph. So because of the data, let me go plot it up. Let me use this. So please, I'm looking at time management. So first, let's see. They said seedling, number of seedlings with a minimum of 2 leaves. We have tray B and tray C. That's what they need us to plant. And we have number of days after planting. So, but here, they now said on the grid, plot a graph of number of seedling with a minimum of 2 leaves in brackets. That's your y-axis against the number of days planting for tray B and tray C. So my x-axis will be number of days then my y-axis will now be number of seedlings with a minimum of 2 leaves. So I just come here, I write number, please don't abbreviate, number of seedling with minimum of 2 leaves. With minimum of 2 leaves. Now, once you've done that, you label your axis. You should have a very good label on your axis. So first, I will look at number of seedlings so the largest value here, the minimum is 0 and the largest is 20. So I will make sure it covers more than half the space given to you. So I have 0, I can do 2. Will it take me? Let me just do 5. 10, 15, 20. Okay. Let me just because your graph need to cover more than half the space given to you. So if I decide to take 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, can have my 20. So let me let me plot for tray B. Start from 0, 4. Okay, sorry, I just made a mistake. I'm supposed to put my number of days from 15 to 30. This is what I need to plot on my y-axis. Then this be the number of seedlings. So 15, 18, 21. Wasting time. Draw 0. I have, let me say, 15 for 15, 18. If it 3 days, 21, 24, 27, 30. 24, I'm just 27, let me say 30. I'm not doing this to scale now, please. So possibly every 10 for 15, that will go. So for this I have 0 to 20, so I'll do this one here now. 0 to, for every 4 I can put it to be 2, another 4 I can put it to be 4, another 4 I can put it to be 6, another 4, 8, another 4, 10, another 4, 12, another 4, 14, another 4, 16, another 4, 18. Do I still have another 4? Yeah, another 4, then 20. Now let me plot for tray B. Tray B start from 0, 0, 4, 9. So come, tray B start from 0. 0 at 15 days. At 18 it was 4. At 21 it was 9. At so it has 14, 19, 20. So I now have 24, it's 14. At 27 it is 14, 19. I think 19 will be somewhere here. Okay, and lastly for 30 it is 20. So if you draw a straight line, then this for tray, you can now label it tray. At the edge here I can draw it and say tray B, because I said draw a straight line between each plotted point for tray B and tray C. So if you do your scale properly, you should be able to, the dotted line supposed to join. Then for this other one, 0, 6, 13, 19. So 0, this is at 6, 21 is at 13, 24 is at 19, 4 is at blah 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 blah, that's 18 and 19. Then the other two are at 20, 20. So you have for 3C. So what you have is 3C. Now the question now is, describe the difference in the trend of your graph. 2 mark. Now the difference is tray C has more growth than tray B. Tray C has more growth than tray B, and you find out that tray C has a steeper gradient than B. Another thing is, if you look at this, tray C reaches maximum at 27 days. Reaches maximum at 27 days. So tray C reaches maximum at 27 days, while tray B is at 30 days. That's it. Now they say suggest a suitable conclusion for this investigation. And the suitable conclusion is that the, the plant grow faster with volcanic ash. So you find out that plants grow faster with volcanic ash. That means volcanic ash is fertile. Now, suggest one way the student could develop this investigation to find out more about the effect of volcanic ash on plant growth. It's simple. You should repeat the experiment and take average or calculate mean. Repeat the experiment and calculate mean. That's all. Now, the next question is, they said C part. Okay. Now the photograph shows opuntia plant growing in a field in the Canary Islands. Now the field is divided into small areas by low stones. Okay, we can see them here. Divided into small areas by low stones. So let's see what the first question is. They said the low stone wall protects the opuntia plant from strong winds. Now the low stone wall reduces the wind speed across the soil. Now the wind speed is reduced across the soil for a distance that is 10 times the height of the wall. Now the height of the wall is 85 centimeters. Calculate the distance from the wall that has reduced wind speed. If it is 10 times, it will be 85 times 10, which is 850 centimeters. That's all. Now, the next question is, they said the diagram shows a field for growing opuntia plant. A field for growing opuntia plant. So a field of opuntia, wind direction, low stone walls. Okay. Now they say draw on the diagram one lone stone wall to protect the opuntia plant from the strong wind. They said one lone stone wall. Simple, it should be from here because it's coming from this direction. So it will now be able to block it. So that's it. You get your mark. Then next, they said the diagram shows a cochineal beetle. The opuntia plant is a food source for the cochineal beetle. So this is more like a primary consumer. Now a red dye called cochineal is made from this beetle. Now the following method is used to obtain the red dye. Farmers infect opuntia plants with eggs of the cochineal beetle. The eggs hatch into larvae that feed on the opuntia plant. 90 days after infection, the larvae change into beetle that have a red body. The farmer collects the beetle and extracts the red dye. Now explain why the cochineal beetle is a primary consumer. It feeds on the opuntia plant. Opuntia plant, which in this case is a producer. Now determine how many times cochineal beetle can be harvested in 1 year. Determine, okay, 90 days. They hatch into a larva on the opuntia plant 90 days after infection. 90 days after infection. So 90 days is signifies 3 months, and a year, 1 year is equal to 12 months. So if it takes 3 months to harvest, so 12 divided by 3 to give you 4 months. So you can Do it 4 times in a year. Explain why farmers call the red dye a cash crop. It's simple now. It is sold cash to make money. Cash. It is sold um, to make money. That's all. Now the farmer only need opuntia plants and a supply of cochineal beetle egg to produce the red dye. Suggest why this farming of concha beetle is an example of sustainable farming. Um, it's sustainable because um, there is no pesticide is used. You don't need to kill it. You can agree with me that there is no fertilizers that is used. Another thing that makes it sustainable is there is no form of soil degradation, and you find out that it can continue for a long time. So it can continue for a long time. That makes it sustainable, and no form of soil degradation. Any two of that. It's not that you write everything. Okay, now the the photograph shows 3 fields for growing lemons on a steep slope in the Canary Islands. Lemons, so you have a water reservoir here, you have a water channels. This is the field and this is your lemon tree. Now the question is, use the photograph to explain why this is an example of good agricultural practice. One is, if you look at this farm, it is terrace. So it is a terrace form of agriculture because it's on a slope. So it's terrace form of agriculture. And because it's terrace, that means it helps to control, so no soil erosion. Another reason may be if you look at this, because of the water, and these are water channels, so you find out from the photograph, irrigation is used. Now another thing is this lemon tree is a tree, so it helps to hold soil and the soil particles together. So it's a tree which help to hold soil particles together, and prevent erosion from wind. And prevent erosion from wind. That will give you a mark. Now, they said soil are classified according to their particle size. There are 3 main particle size. Clay is one of these particle size. Name 2. Clay soil, sandy soil, and silt. So you can have sandy and silt. That's all. Now they say clay soil can become waterlogged. Yes. So explain the impact of waterlog on the on crop production. When it's waterlogged, that means there is plenty water in the soil. One of the major impact of this is that if the water log, then there is no air spaces, so it reduces oxygen in the soil. And if there is reduction in oxygen, that means the plant root cannot respire, because plant also respire. Remember that the plant root cannot respire. And another thing is it can cause leaching of minerals. Oh, sorry. Erase. It can cause LEA, leaching of minerals from the soil, so it therefore reduce soil fertility. Another impact this can have is the soil can become, it causes salinization, which is an impact of waterlogged soil. Causes salinization, that's salinization. What this means is it increases the salt content of the soil, which is not suitable for plant growth. And now they said the photograph shows one location in the Canary Island that is not used for tourism. Okay, this area is not used for tourism. Okay, now let's see. State 3 uses of the land shown in the photograph. Now, if you look at this, just say what you can see. That's what I tell my geography student. What you can see here, just say it. I think this is a football field. So I have a football field here. If this is a field, that means it can be used for field. That means you can carry out recreation. The land is also used for road. There's a lot of roads here. It's used for residential because there are buildings. So residential. If you look at this, since there you can say it can also be used for businesses. I think that should be enough. You just need 3. Now, suggest why food production cannot be increased at the location shown in the photograph. Why? Because if you look at this, why food production cannot be increased here, because this area, usually here you have a steep slope. Another reason is you find out that on this steep slope, it can be that the soil is infertile, and also so let me see, it has steep slope, which will make it difficult for cultivation, and so you can have infertile soil, and because this slope is steep, it will actually be difficult for you to use things like machineries, because you can't drive tractors there, so difficult to use machineries. So that's 2 of that. Now, up to 90% of the food needed in the Canary Island is imported. So just one other item that need to be imported onto this island. Another thing is that needs to be imported to this island. It seems like they didn't mention from the economic activities things like they will need things like fossil fuels can be imported. They can need things like medical supplies, things like manufactured goods like cars, medical supplies, medicines. Just I think they should be able to allow any valuable points with this. It's an open question. Now the government want to use wind power to generate electricity on the Canary Island. Now an environmental impact assessment um, is needed at each possible wind turbine locations before the building can begin. Explain why an environmental impact assessment is needed. Now, you should know is why you need environmental impact assessment is to find out the view of the local people within that community. What is their take on it? Now, you should also look at how will it affect the habitat? Um, you also look at how it will affect the habitat, if it will lead to loss of habitat, then it will, then you now need to check to see sorry, uh, you also need to survey um, the wildlife. You also need to check how it will affect, how it will affect farming within the island. So all these are needed to be assessed. Now, wind power is a renewable energy resource. Describe other benefits of using wind power to generate electricity. Simple. If it's renewable, just write the advantage of renewable energy. That's all. So first, there is no carbon dioxide produced. That means there is no what? No greenhouse gas. Another major thing is, if you look at that, since there is no greenhouse gas, there is no acid rain. So simple. No acid rain, no acid rain. So no greenhouse gas, no CO2, no SO4 produced. So no acid rain. Um, you remember greenhouse gas causes climate change and global warming. So there is no global warming, no global warming. Uh, no acid rain. Another thing is, it will help. It's readily available because of the wind that blows, and it reduces import of fossil fuel. So it's readily available. Right. So just two other renewable outside wind. You have hydro. Okay, that can be used on the Canary Island. Hydro power. Remember, there was a reservoir there that we looked at while answering the question. So water should be available. Another thing they can use, because it's volcanic area, they can use geothermal energy, which is renewable. Another type they can use is, they said, that can be used on the Canary Island. Remember, it's surrounded with water, so you have wave energy can be used, tidal can be used. Um, Another thing is, it's close to the desert, so possibly you can use solar also. Any two of that goes. Now, they said the population of the each island of the Canary is shown in the table. Okay, so for all of them. Now, they say complete the table to show the population of each island from the highest to the lowest. What kind of question is this? This is so cheap. Do I need to stress myself? You just arrange it from highest to lowest. Do that yourself. Um, that is not something we should stress ourselves on, please. Next is, they said, the table shows the number of tourists that visit four of the Canary Islands in 2019. So total, you add all this value, add all of them. Go to the exam hall with your calculator, please. You add it, you write. That's all. 1 mark. Complete. Now, here they said in 2019, Tenerife was visited by 5.89 million tourists. Okay. Now, some people think tourist is damaging the environment, and a tourist tax should be introduced. Now, the money from the tourist tax could then be used to support environmental projects. Now, a questionnaire was used to survey tourists about the view of tourist tax. Would you pay a tax of €1 each night to stay in Tenerife? 60% yes, no, 40%. Do you agree with the idea of taxing tourists? So that was 50-50% response. So now, the first question here is, write one other question to survey tourists about their view on tax. Okay. Um, you can say things like, since we are looking at, okay, should tourist tax be used to let me come back, to support environmental project, to support environmental, you get me? The answer to this will either be yes or no. So you just have to add a yes or no question. That's it. Now the questionnaire was used at both the North Airport and the South Airport. So just why the questionnaire was used at both airports. Okay, why will it? It's just to cover a large range of tourists. That's it. To cover a large range of tourists that visit. Now, describe a suitable method for selecting tourists. A suitable method, you can use either random, where people are selected only by chance. Um, so you use random generators, uh, and you can use systematic. People are selected by chance, where you use, which is the use of random and generators, select people by chance, and or you can use systematic. So you can decide to say you give every fifth or third, you give the fifth person you come in contact with. Simple. Now describe one benefit of using the questionnaire when tourists arrive and when tourists leave the island. One benefit is to see if their opinion has changed, and that will happen when they come and when they are leaving, to see if their opinion has changed. Another thing you could look at is, you should look at it to decide when to change the tourist tax. Okay, to check if their findings are similar. Also, to decide if to change the tourist tax. Now, here they said the average length of stay for tourists in Tenerife is 9 days. Now, calculate the total money raised in 2019 for tourists, for a tourist, that is a tourist tax of €1 per night. So if it is €1 per night, then in 9 days is €9. So how long do they stay in Tenerife? Calculate total money raised. So let me go back. There should be a data we use here. Now they said in 2019 Tenerife was visited by 589 million tourists. 5.89 million tourists. So your answer will just be, since they stay for 9 days, 58.9 million tourists. 9 days, so each tourist pay approximately €9. So it will be 9 times this value will give you your answer. That's all. Now, question number 3, they said money raised from tourist tax can be used to invest in sustainable tourism. Now, explain ways tourism can be made sustainable. You can have ecotourism and can come there. So, you encouraging ecotourism. Another thing you can make it sustainable is, you can, okay, so you can have sewage treatment plants can be created. Treatment plants for them to recycle. Another thing is recycling waste products. So you can build a recycling plant. Um, so you can use it to employ um, environmental tour guides or tour guides. So so you employ tour guides. Another thing is you can use it to educate the people. Some of the money can be used to educate the tourists during their visit, so they will not, and create awareness. It can be used to maintain the natural beauty of the area. It can be used to maintain the beauty of the area. Another thing you can look at is they can use it to build sorry um, a renewable energy resource for the tourist for that particular island. Now, discuss whether tourism contribute to climate change. Give reasons for your view. Here, you should look at either a yes or a no aspect of it. Now, if it is a yes, if it is, so you look at two viewpoints. Yes, how? Because tourists need transport, and for them to transport themselves, they need to use fossil fuels, and fossil fuels release what? SO4 and CO2, which are greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, which eventually causes what? Climate change and global warming, which traps sunlight. Um, so that will cause it. Another thing is um, they need um, more tourists. We need outside transport. They need electricity. So if the electricity is produced using fossil fuel, the same thing, the same routine we go. Another thing tourists we need is that we need um, things like, for you to build a tourist site, there can be habitat loss or deforestation, deforestation is better. Deforestation, because you need to build roads, and when you deforestate, that means there will be loss of trees. So there will be no form of, so there will be no carbon um, carbon capture. So as a result, it can lead to increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and thereby leading to what is it, climate change and global warming. That's for yes. Then if I say no, no, what are the points? Tourist. So no, such as tourists are well educated and they decide to encourage ecotourism, so there is no need for cutting down trees, and if there is no cutting down of trees, the deforestation is not occurring. Um, and you find out that tourists, the money derived from tourism can be used also to encourage renewable energy and within the environment. The use of tourists can only be allowed to use things like electrical cars and the rest. That will help to reduce this carbon element and thereby reduces climate change. Now, suggest why people living in small island are very worried about climate change. This is simple. What is the impact of climate change? Now, you see, climate change lead to, for people in a small island to be worried, is that it lead to melting of glaciers due to increase in global temperature. leading to sea level rise, and sea level rise can lead to what? Flooding of the coastal regions, flooding of the island, and once the island is flooded, it will lead to what? Loss of habitats, can lead to destruction of buildings. So you see, all that are major impacts. So we are done with this question. I believe possibly there was a quick run through of it. So